I would like to thank...
नहीं अधीर रंजन जी, अब आप बैठ जाएं, अब बुला दिया है, अपना उत्तर देंगी, उसमें कुछ पूछना हो पूछ लीजिएगा.
I would like to thank all of you for having taken part, and many of you have read this bill very carefully, and I appreciate all the suggestions you've made. Before I start, I'd like to say that whatever lacuna that you perceive that I have learned from you, we will fulfill in the rules. And when we put the rules in, I would request that all of you look at them. This bill has been on the net for the last 1 year, and every draft has been put on the net. It would have been good if everybody had read it before and had given us suggestions. Now I'm going to start from Pratibha Mandalji. I'm not creating 10 new institutions. There's only the National Anti-Trafficking Bureau, and everything comes under that. This is already there. We are just making it, we're legitimizing it, making it stronger, putting in money. And we have proposed committees headed by existing officers to ensure the required focus. So it's not, as Tathagatji said, a bureaucrat employment device. Then I'd like to thank Om Birla ji for helping with the formation. The rules, now one of the things that Pratibha ji said, that rules she was talking about, sorry Pratibha, forgive me, yeah, forgive me. So she has asked for the places of where the offence has been committed and the attachment and the participants in the committee to be defined. These will certainly be specified and defined in the rules. Now, Satyabhama ji, thank you for your comments. Tathagat ji, I always enjoy his interventions, and I especially enjoy the interventions that are prompted by Mehtab ji in his own quiet manner. It is, unfortunately, he is not correct this time. The bill is very victim-centric. It is. And that's the only reason why I brought it. Otherwise, there was absolutely no reason for me to reinforce what laws already exist. This is a bill that has a compassionate view of people who work who become victims in the sex trade, and it seeks to get their consent. It seeks to take them out. And what is happening at the moment? We get a sex worker, we put her into jail. Whether the trafficker goes in or the person who has sheltered him or made the money from it, doesn't matter. The woman is always penalized. The child is always penalized. So in this case, we ask them if they are there for of their own volition. Then there is no question of making them leave it or penalizing them or jailing them. We are just after the traffickers, not the victims. Now, we used, Tathagatji said that we used NGOs. Yes, but the NGOs we used were not the 7,800 that exist in his constituency. We actually used very specialized NGOs who've been involved in trafficking or in preventing trafficking for many, many years. We used police people, we used groups of sex workers, we used people who are involved in rehabilitation, we used lawyers, we used dozens of lawyers who have been fighting cases, of all the trafficking cases. So we did use a lot of NGOs. Now, this law, one of the things that Vinayak Raoji said was, which I appreciated, was pointing out the reality of begging. Because repeatedly it's been asked, why is begging considered an aggravated crime? Because of the extreme violence and the extreme suffering involved. As many of you have pointed out, when you stop at traffic lights, you see these little babies. All of them have been given drugs to make them sleep. All of them have that nakli botal, which supposedly milk is being given to them, and all of them are hired out per hour, per day. For me, nothing could be worse. So it is an aggravated crime. Mr. Srinivas Rao has, again, I would like to thank him, and he said that, one of the points that has come up again and again is why only 10 crores have been kept. It's not 10 crores. When the Nirbhaya Fund was made, it had, I think, 1,000 crores in it. And over the last few years, we've increased it to 6,000 crores, and the 6,000 crores have been spent. So this 10 crores is just a notional amount of money. It will be increased, and it will be increased hugely as it is. Hopefully, it will never be needed, but of course, it will be. And therefore, we have put in as is needed, so that there's no cap on it. Kavita ji, I'd like to talk to you about, you've talked about how do we prevent, and what has this government done for prevention before we even got to this bill. I'd like to tell you a few things that my ministry has done. The Home Ministry has done a lot as well, so has the Labour Ministry, but I'm just going to give you how we have tried. As soon as I became minister, I realized that the railways were the main reason why we could get away with trafficking. And thousands of children and women were coming through the railways. So the first thing we did was immediately put posters in every single compartment, coach, yeah, saying that if you can see a woman or a child that you believe is being trafficked or has come against their will, please call. And we've given 3 numbers. And I have to tell you, this has been extremely successful. Our rescue rate is literally, if you phone at the next stop, we will have police waiting. We have got an institution called Childline, which is internationally one of the best. It gets about 4 crore calls a year. But since I've come, we have doubled it. Our response time to picking up a child or a woman or anybody in trouble is 1 hour. And then we have started something new called the Railway Childline. We took the 100 most vulnerable railway stations where children who are trafficked usually come. Where do they traffic from? A village where the train stops for 1 minute. So I can't patrol those areas, but I can patrol the areas in which they arrive. So we have got training and people standing at every railway station which is vulnerable. And again, thousands of children have come. In fact, we gave a Nari Shakti award to one woman who in Bombay alone, as part of the railway police, has rescued over 900 children herself. So then we have 2 more things. We have something called Track Child. Track Child was done by the UPA government. And what it consisted of was that all police stations should have, they could put in children's faces into the computer. Unfortunately, this didn't work because where children disappear from, they either don't have electricity or they don't have computers or they're not involved. So we started something called Khoya Paya. Khoya Paya is anybody in India can put in the face, name of a child or a woman who has disappeared, and with their details. And anybody else who thinks they have seen them or may have seen them can also put information in. And through this Track Child, so far we have saved about 50,000 people through this initiative. We also have, one of the things that bothers me a lot is that it's difficult when it's a sexual crime, which children and women get trafficked for. How do you take action when your forensics can't prove anything? So we decided to strengthen the forensics department. We found to our dismay that after so many years, there were only capabilities of 1,500 sexual crime forensic investigations. So immediately, we have put in money into 6 forensic centers: Calcutta, Bombay, Pune, Tamil Nadu, Chandigarh, which has already started working. And we put out an ad hiring 5,000 people who have done chemistry and physics to be trained as forensic experts. Now, once I can get the forensics in place, justice will come that much faster. We are also putting in kits. I mean, this is irrelevant to this, but I would like to tell you what else we're doing, is that every police station and district hospital will have rape kits, which are just simply small boxes in which there are test tubes, places for cloth, places for cotton wool, blood, semen, whatever, and a list of what is to be done, and then they're lockable and then they go from there straight to the forensic lab so that they cannot be tampered with. So that will make a collection of evidence so much easier. These are some of the things that we've done. Of course, the main thing that we have put in, which, as one of the speakers said, which I'll come to, is that, I think it was Dushyant Chautalaji, said that why don't we use the one-stop centers? Yes, one-stop centers are completely new for India. Some of them are working very well. In fact, I'm really sorry that Mr. Gandhi has said that his is not working well, because he was one of the first people to ask for one. And he asked me so many times that I'm very happy he's got one, and if it's not working well, perhaps you could let me know what is wrong with it, and I can correct it. But these one-stop centers could also be used for rescue and keeping the women, if they are in any way, if they want to be. So, then you had also asked about foreign nationals. Foreign nationals are as culpable and guilty of crimes as Indians. So this bill covers and is applicable to foreigners as well. Okay, then somebody had said that what about taking over buildings, which is very simple to do and can be misused by the police to just say, "Ha, ye to hai. This is a center and for trafficking," and take it over. No building or premises can be taken over without giving notice and hearing the person or the owner. It has to go through due process before we can, and these are safeguards, very strong safeguards. If you believe that the safeguards are not enough, please tell me after reading the bill and I will put them in the rules. I also am equally frightened about misuse, because we're not going to be in government forever. And by instinct, I'm an NGO. So I need to protect the rest of India. So if there is something left out, let me know. Officers and persons in charge of homes are punishable if they don't discharge their duties for the first time. Until now, we can have a Muzaffarpur, and we can have things like this happening only because there was no law saying that somebody in charge of a home can be penalized. Now they can be. Okay. Badruddin ji, marriage is certainly mentioned, and you had said that somehow we should make this act known. What we have done is something new, and I can look at this and push it in a little further in response to your suggestion. So far, we've started something new, which is every exercise book of every school has the POCSO Act on behind it, which says what is good touch, what is bad touch, what will happen, what has happened if you're molested, etc. So your suggestion that we should also have this anti-trafficking law, we'll request HRD to put this into some of the exercise books as well. Then trafficking for the purpose of marriage or pretext of marriage is an offense. So you're saying that it's not true, because it's a frequent crime, and girls are taken away and forced, pretending to be married and forced into prostitution. So the bill is gender neutral. Supriya ji, you had brought up many, many good points. The district committee will have NGOs and people who are aware of the issue. Rules will ensure that proper ones are chosen. The sensitization of officers, as you said, is the most important thing. It's no point sitting here and wasting a whole day passing this if it's never going to percolate down. But yes, we have already started. In fact, this bill was made with the help of a large number of police people who aimed it at sensitization as well of their own cadre. Accountability has been built in the law, and states will contribute to the fund, but there are many other ways to top up this fund. So the bill is applicable to persons, not others. So, but I apologize if an inner slight was meant, and in future we will remember to put it properly. Now, regarding adoption, you said that sometimes adoption can lead to trafficking. What happens in the Kara form of adoption? See, there are 2-3 things happening with adoption. One is adoption where people are just generally taking the baby and pretending they just found it somewhere and not saying anything. And these are people that you can't do anything about because they never come anywhere for certification. Then there is another act called HAMA, where people adopt children they know under this act, and it applies to the Hindu Adoption Act. But CARA is very strict, and it may take a long time, but all children are kept under watch after adoption for a long time, both here and abroad. And periodic assessments are done until the child is fully integrated with the adopters. Regarding visits, regarding these homes, I've written to MPs again and again saying that please could you take charge of all the homes in your areas. And I'd like to repeat it today. If you could visit all the different homes in your areas, whether they're adoption, whether they're swadhargras, whether they're punishment homes, whether they're anything, I would be so grateful if you would give me independent assessments. Every time I have got an independent assessment, work has been done immediately. The problem is we don't have enough members of parliament who actually go and visit these places. So I would request you all to do that. You had asked for a member of parliament to be made part of the committee. A member of parliament will be made part of the committee. We'll just put it into the rules. What's completely new, Supriyaji? Buying and selling humans is being covered as a crime for the first time. So this is the basis of this. Then trafficking for the purpose of buying and selling organs is already covered under Section 370 of the IPC, which deals with trafficking, so we didn't repeat it. The National Anti-Trafficking Bureau, you were worried that if you're found in one state and you have to go to another state. That's why it's a National Anti-Trafficking Bureau, because then it covers all the cases involving interstate, and make the problem of jurisdiction of magistrates then is clearly addressed in this bill. Geetaji, you know, the people who were involved in this, in making this bill, you wanted to know Sunita Krishnan, who comes from your state and has done decades of work in anti-trafficking and in rescuing, rehabilitating victims. Prayas, the Nobel Prize winner Kailash Satyarthi, the Tata Institute of Social Service, Sri Nair. These are some of the 60 different groups who were helped draft the bill. And that's what you wanted to know. I've already replied to Mr. Gandhi about the one-stop centers. And you were worried about conviction and the low rate of conviction. And I'm saying that the provisions of this designated courts in this bill will hopefully improve the conviction rate and speed up the judicial process. You know, many members have expressed a concern about sex workers and the inability of existing systems to stop organized crime in this area. Once the provisions related to confiscation of property under this bill are implemented, the hellholes of Kamathipura, GB Road, they will all be a thing of the past, because these will come directly under confiscation of property. Meenakshi ji, thank you for that brilliant speech and for understanding the spirit and technicalities of the bill. Vincent ji, consent of the victims is very much a part of the bill. We will reinforce it. If you believe that it's not enough, we will reinforce it through the rules. Mr. Premchand, it's been 2 years already for this bill. I mean, you know, you can send it anywhere you like, but it's been long overdue. And just about everybody in this area has been consulted. You know, you're saying that the misuse of law is possible. You have thousands of laws, and you can misuse anything you want to misuse. But the point is we need to have a law to begin with. If you don't have a law, then you can do what you please. So I don't think that it should prevent us from making the law. And this law is victim-centric, as I keep repeating, and full protection is given to the victims. It provides a singular structure of institutional frameworks at national, state, and district level. Trafficking is complex. It involves enforcement, supervision, rehab, investigation. So you have to have people at different levels doing different things. So the only new body proposed, there are not 10 bodies, the only new body is the National Anti-Trafficking Bureau. All the others are existing bodies or have serving officers who will discharge additional functions. Mr. Yadav, I'd like to thank you. Begging is, as I said, an aggravated crime because it involves continual and extreme violence. Dr. Hina, thank you for your comments. The budgetary allocation will be increased as per your need, and like Nirvayam. And re-trafficking, which you talked about, is covered under Section 32 and 33 and attracts imprisonment for life. So we take it as seriously as you do. Dushyantji had suggested that we use the one-stop centers, which I have said absolutely. And Kaushalendra Kumarji, thank you for your support. Mrs. Shatabdi Roy, we have also been changing conditions for women in jail. In fact, the next thing, and I'd be happy to share that with you, is we finally reached, after 1.5 years of sending it to law schools and everything, we've prepared a manual for women prisoners and for children in school. I agree with what you're saying, that after 6, if the child is taken away, where does the child go? And it is a great concern. So I'm going to weave this, since it never occurred to me before this, but I'm going to put it into the women's thing. Then when you said that, we can't change society, we actually can change society, because when this government came in, when the Prime Minister suggested that we do Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, I myself was very skeptical and frightened. I said the same thing. We've been killing children for years and years and decades and centuries. Why should we stop now? But for some reason, the campaign did take off. And it didn't take long to change Indian society for the better. Hugely patriarchal societies like Haryana, Punjab, who had come down to 830 per 1,000 boys. These are the societies that changed the fastest, in spite of...
Referred that. What happened in my district, madam, especially Dharmaburi district, whichever the girl baby born, they will kill it. That happened, giving some poison like that.
That's right.
And afterwards, our former chief minister took a serious this concern. Then said, government will come forward to adopt the child, gave the cradle baby system. That is the way we are given. So now, so many children saved, and they studied, and they were well placed now. Therefore, this is the whatever Beti Bachao, that what you're telling, that is the initiative Tamil Nadu state.
Absolutely.
We have succeeded that also.
We learned a lot from you, and it's because of Tamil Nadu's success in the cradle system that we have now implemented it all over India. So thank you. So if we can change society in 1 year, and every state got involved, every district magistrate got involved, every MP got involved, and we did change society. Haryana went up from 830, which is shameful, to 950 in less than 2 years. And so did most districts. In the first 100 we took, 61 districts went up by 100, or almost 100. And the others we then worked on to see what mistakes we've made. And now they're doing extremely well as well. Now, Beti Bachao is all over India. So we can change society. We just have to decide to do it. As I think Supriya ji said, you have zero tolerance for something. And then we work backwards. The point is, we've had tolerance for beggars. We have tolerance for sex workers. We have tolerance for women in labor, children in labor. When we decide to have zero tolerance, it's gone. Then, Mr. Pandey, as I explained, Railway Child Line operates out of 100 stations and has rescued thousands of children. And I have, as I've said before, I've sent letters giving institutions, as you suggested, send letters to members of parliament, giving them the institutions in their constituency. I have sent these letters. If you have not received it, I apologize. I will send it again. Mr. Patasani, thank you. Well, he's not here, but thank you. And Srimati Renuka, if a bill can root out poverty, because you want me first to tackle poverty and then do anything else. If I could, wouldn't I do it? But this bill if I spread it and I diffuse it so much that first I root out poverty, then I root out inequality, then I root out something, then I'm never going to be able to save whatever little I can save. So I've kept it more to the point. But
yes,
I'm sure it will.
Say it's a
But
poverty.
you had also talked about, I'm sure it will. So it also includes skill training, which hopefully will work backwards so that they don't come back again into the same, what do you call it, Abhimanyu Chakra? Chakravyu, you know. It then come back into the same problem, yeah. And I'll tell you what we did. For instance, the government of Chhattisgarh did something so happy. All the girls that they rescued, the district magistrate has opened up bakeries for them. And she's put 10 girls who were rescued into these bakeries, sent them to Pune, where they learned cooking. And now each bakery just makes wedding cakes. And in the first month itself, they have started repaying they were given a loan for each bakery. And they're repaying it to the tune of 8,000 rupees a month, which means that they're selling a lot of cakes. So we gave them a Nari Shakti award for that. Mr. Bashir, thank you for your appreciation. Srimati Teacher, it is marriage is actually specifically mentioned. And there is a very comprehensive definition, which I would request you to go through. Mr. Patel, thank you for appreciation, and Mr. Yadav. That's it. And Mr. Tharoor made certain points. I know he's missing. You know, I've known Mr. Tharoor since I was in college. So I'm particularly cross, so which is why I've kept him for last. And it's a pity that the honourable member did not give us the benefit of his great wisdom during the 2 years that the bill was being shaped. It was only after it was introduced into Parliament that he came to see me about this and did not mention a single thing of what he has said today. As you can see now, I'm very happy to take suggestions. I don't know everything. And all of you, are as committed as I am. So if he had, I would have been happy. Now, two types of people. I'm going to be now very wicked, so you can pretend I didn't say it. But during the consultations of the bill, we received comments from two groups, one representing the victims and one representing sex workers. Dr. Tharoor represents the second group and has come to me repeatedly in their defense. So, as Meenakshi ji said, we do not tolerate this. We do not. Whether they do it.
No, he represented. He represented second.
He represented officially.
No, officially he represented.
I'm just coming to it.
Officially he went there, na? Officially he went there. Why you are...
I'm afraid. No, wait a minute. There's nothing
What is wrong in that? But what is wrong in that?
No, hang on.
Nothing wrong.
There's nothing to defend. He came, there's nothing to attack or defend. He came to me officially with representatives of sex workers, and he asked for them to be not harassed if they were voluntarily in the profession. To which I have said, absolutely. There's no question of harassing them. Okay? So the bill focuses on a victim. If a voluntary sex worker is not a victim, has not been trafficked, has no one to blame for his or her or the other ones, TG's problem, then there's no question of my harassing them or the police taking anything to do with them. It's not intended, this bill is not intended to facilitate or to harass sex workers. So I would like to thank you all for this, and I would be deeply grateful if we could pass the bill. Thank you.
Yes, Adhir Ranjan ji, yes. Only